So recently, due to the popularity of the Invincible War, there was a trend online where different artists would draw the lineups of different evil versions of popular characters, with one of the most popular being Raditz on Twitter, who drew the Goku War, which depicted 16 evil variants of Goku. In this video, I'll be going over the 16 evil Gokus, explaining who they are, where they're from, and what makes them so evil compared to the mainline Goku, and also how strong they are. This video contains a mix of canon Gokus, non-canon Gokus, fan-made what-if Gokus, and even versions of Goku that were created for this art. So I promise you that at least one of these will be an evil version of Goku that you've never heard of. With that being said, we have 16 Gokus to cover, so I'll be keeping my summaries of each Goku to only 1 minute or less to not waste your time. Make sure to like, subscribe, and let's jump right in. Broly Goku. Starting off the list, we have Broly Goku, who is one of the completely original versions of the character created by Raditz for this what if. Due to this, I can't exactly cite any source material for who this guy is and what he may or may not be able to do. However, both from his design and the general story of Broly, we can make some big assumptions. Firstly, this is clearly the Z version of Broly, with the same restriction devices that Paragus used against him in the first movie being on his head. So it's safe to say that in this timeline, Goku was the legendary Super Saiyan instead of Broly, and saved his father Bardock from the planet's destruction. Perhaps instead it was Paragus who took on Frieza and Broly who was sent to Earth. I'm not sure how much this would ultimately change the story though, as legendary Super Saiyan Goku would probably be about as strong as Broly, and non-legendary Super Saiyan Broly would probably end up being as strong as Goku. Either way, it ends probably with this Goku being defeated at the hands of the Z fighters after much struggle. After Kakarot. Kakarot is a version of Goku from the Dragonball After fan manga by Youngjiji, the same author of Dragonball AF. This version of Goku is actually 100% identical to Dragon Ball Z Goku all the way through the end of Z. However, this story diverts from going to something like Dragon Ball GT when during a training session, Oob hits Goku in the back of the head, essentially undoing that same head injury that Goku got when he was dropped on his head as a child. What this does is allow Goku to keep all the knowledge and power he gained from being a good guy, but with all the tendencies, violence, and ruthlessness as a normal Saiyan. The story then follows as the remaining Z fighters like Vegeta, Gohan, and Piccolo all attempt to take this evil Goku down. As of writing, this story is still unfinished, so as of now, we don't know how this Goku will be defeated. As for his power, we get told outright that his power level is 2 trillion and he continues to grow from there. Berserk Goku. This is the first official version of Goku on this list, though he is not a canon one. This version of Goku comes from the Dragon Ball Heroes continuity of games, manga, and anime. This Berserk version of Goku was only a temporary transformation brought on by the ancient evil Saiyan Cumber. Essentially, a Saiyan who interacts with the evil ki of Cumber gets taken over by the evil ki and loses control of themselves, getting a massive power boost on the same level as a god ki amp. Goku personally only experienced this once, using Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 2 with the form. Notably, later in Heroes, Vegeta would also get infected by this evil ki. However, unlike Goku, he manages to gain his senses and uses the dark ki in tandem with Super Saiyan Blue, something Goku never does. So this Goku is evil, not really by choice. After losing the ki, he goes back to normal and doesn't even remember it happening. That being said, due to being in Heroes, this is unsurprisingly one of the strongest evil Gokus. Crimson Masked Saiyan is the other notable evil Goku from Dragon Ball Heroes. Instead of being just Goku temporarily turned evil, this is the Heroes version of Goku Black. This version of Goku Black essentially succeeded in his Zero Mortals plan and extended this plan beyond just his universe and timeline. In order to grow strong enough to do this though, he began going to different timelines to kill and fight the Goku who lived in that universe. By the time he shows up in Heroes, he has killed 99 different versions of Goku and plans to make Heroes Goku his 100th victim. Crimson Masked Saiyan is notable for actually being made entirely of energy and using the Super Saiyan Rose full power form, which is essentially Super Saiyan Rose 3. This version fought Heroes Evolution Blue Gogeta, but was ultimately beaten by the father-son Kamehameha between Goku and the Warrior in Black. Crimson Masked Saiyan is probably the strongest Goku on this list within official material, as he is far stronger than Berserk Goku within Heroes cosmology. Others Goku. Others Goku comes from the ongoing Dragon Ball analog horror series, Dragon Ball The Others, by the artist Kinzoku Mado. In this horror series, doppelgangers of the characters of Dragon Ball begin slipping into the main universe from the Dead Zone in an attempt to replace them. These doppelgangers take on the appearance of similar-looking Dragon Ball characters, with Goku himself obviously having more look-alike doppelgangers than anyone else. In fact, many of the doppelgangers are versions of Goku that we'll talk about later down the line in this video. In the story, these entities drain the energy from the warriors in order to grow stronger, wearing them down physically and mentally at the same time until they are powerful enough to go for the kill. This story is still ongoing, getting new episodes with Vegeta only a couple weeks ago. As for power, these entities were able to rob the strength away from mastered Ultra Instinct Goku, making them at their peak some of the strongest entities within the Dragon Ball Super continuity. Super Baby Goku. Super Baby Goku is another role swap Goku created by Raditz art for the Goku War. This one is pretty straightforward. What if Baby was able to infect Goku and make him his host during the events of Dragon Ball GT? Frankly, pretty much everyone is screwed in this scenario because nobody compares to Goku in the slightest at this point besides Oob, and he couldn't even beat Baby Vegeta, let alone Goku. Literally, the only hope for the universe in this scenario is if Vegeta somehow gets Super Saiyan 4, assuming that he isn't already infected by Baby, but that's a massive leap in logic, especially when Bulma and the Blitzwave Generator were under Baby's command. Can this Baby take on the Shadow Dragons or Super 7 team? That's the real question. Turles. Turles is definitely stretching the definition of what an evil Goku is. Besides being a Saiyan that looks like Goku, the two of them really don't share any connection besides that. Turles is the main villain of the 6th Dragon Ball movie, Tree of Might. He was a low-class Saiyan who eventually just split off from his people, recruiting other aliens to make the Turles Crusher Core. At some point, he discovered the Tree of Might and the fruit it produces, that makes you stronger after eating it, but at the cost of draining the life energy from the planet in order to grow. Turles and his core went to different planets doing this until they came to Earth, where of course they came into conflict with Goku. In the end, even after planting the Tree of Might and eating its fruit multiple times, Turles is defeated by a Spirit Bomb using the tree's energy. Turles is unfortunately the weakest Goku so far, only reaching that mid-Namek level of power. Kakarot. Despite seeming like another fan-fiction or what-if version of Goku, this version of Evil Goku with the dark Raditz-style Saiyan armor actually does appear within official material. Very briefly in the Z anime, while King Kai is explaining the history of the Saiyans and those that survived, he pictures Goku as if he was the same as the other surviving Saiyans. While we never get an explanation for this, we can assume this version of Goku was simply not sent to Earth, as we can actually see he still has a tail. Either way, we can assume that this Kakarot is just your generic heartless combat-loving Saiyan, and also isn't that strong in the grand scheme of Dragon Ball. Given that this was before even the arrival of Vegeta and Nappa on Earth, this Goku is probably weaker than even base Saiyan Saga Goku with a power level of 8,000. In all honesty, without any of his training, he's probably weaker than his brother Raditz's power level of 1,500. Android Goku. Android Goku is from Smugstick's What If Goku Was Turned Into an Android series on YouTube. In this series, Kid Goku is captured by Jiro during the events of the Red Ribbon Army saga, and he and Vomi essentially turn him into their own cyborg android child. Now, I don't want to just take another YouTuber's content, so if you want to find out how this story goes, just check this series out after you finish watching the video. As of now, to my knowledge, the series has gotten as far as the Golden Frieza saga, so Android Goku is definitely in the upper end of power, soloing all of Dragon Ball Z, but there are certainly those that surpass him, even just in canon. Majin Goku. Majin Goku is once again a what-if Goku that is not directly attributed to any popular Dragon Ball what-if. The concept is simple. What if Goku got the Majin Amp and was taken over by Babidi instead of Vegeta? In all honesty, this simply wouldn't happen. There would be no evil in Goku's heart for Babidi to bring out in order to take control of him or power him up. Ignoring this though, if Goku was evil and given the Majin Amp, then this is another scenario where everyone else is totally screwed. Goku was already the strongest person on the planet with Super Saiyan 3, and now he is the potential unleashing Majin Amp and almost immunity to pain that form gives on top of everything. Vegeta was only strong enough to match Goku with his own Majin Amp, making the gap even wider if Goku has one. In short, if this happens, Babidi instantly wins, and doesn't even need Majin Buu anymore to enact his evil plans. At least in the anime, due to the insane power jumps of the Majin Buu saga, this still might not be enough to defeat the likes of Buhan or Kid Buu if they should still somehow happen. Trapped and Betrayed. Probably the most famous and one of the longest What If series and versions of Goku, this version comes from What If Goku was betrayed and trapped in the time chamber once again by Smugstick. In the series, Kami fears Goku's potential as a threat, so betrays him and traps him in the time chamber. Instead of dying, this Goku grows insanely strong, insanely fast, while also developing very intense antisocial tendencies. Again, not to just summarize another YouTuber's work, make sure to check it out and watch it yourself if you're interested. This is definitely one of the strongest versions of Goku, as the ending involves a battle between Vegito and a fusion of Beerus and Whis. Crane School Goku. Crane School Goku comes from Silent Saiyan's aptly named What If Goku Was Evil YouTube series, which actually makes one of the smallest and most reasonable changes possible to the story of Dragon Ball. Goku lands near the Crane School and is raised by Shen instead of Grandpa Gohan. Despite this small difference, this is also a lengthy series that intentionally goes over the top with the concepts in a way similar to Dragon Ball Heroes. Not to spoil the entire story, but by the end, this What If series begins crossing over with other What If series made by Salad. If you want to find out how things got this crazy, make sure to go watch it. Salad has actually scaled his own What Ifs, so we know that Evil Goku is slightly, but not massively beyond the strength of Goku in canon. Ginyu Goku. This is probably the first fully canon and official version of Evil Goku, and the first to appear within the Dragon Ball manga. This is the version of Goku who had his body stolen by Captain Ginyu during the Namek saga of Dragon Ball Z. Ginyu up to this point had been repeatedly stealing stronger and stronger bodies until he got to Goku. However, due to Goku's level of skill and ki control, Ginyu was unable to properly use Goku's body and only had a power level slightly above 20,000. This leads to him getting beaten up by Gohan, Krillin, and eventually Vegeta. Before he could steal Vegeta's body with another switch, he was trapped inside a frog. This accidentally led to making Goku stronger than ever, but also shows how much more skill he has than other fighters. Once again, given his place in the story, this is one of the weaker versions of Evil Goku, and isn't even stronger than normal Ginyu. Goku Doll. Now, this Goku is technically an official character, though in canon it's not an adult but Kid Goku and isn't exactly evil. Goku Doll is a clay copy of Goku made by Popo during the training arc between the King Piccolo and 23rd Budokai Saga to help Goku train. There isn't much to say about this Goku besides that it was really funny looking design and was temporarily giving Kid Goku a bit of trouble. Safe to say though, this is the weakest Evil Goku on the entire list by far, and also barely counts as an Evil Goku either. Clone. This is the only Goku on this list entirely represented in video game media. Clone Goku comes from the story mode of Dragon Ball FighterZ. In the story of FighterZ, Android 21 makes clones of both living and dead characters, developing them as fast as possible to get out into battle as mindless foot soldiers. These clones notably include Super Saiyan Goku among their ranks, but essentially the entire base roster, including those like Tien, Kid Buu, Piccolo, and Cell, are also there. It's pretty obvious these clones are not as strong as the original though at worst, they were only slightly inferior in power in some instances. Even if they were the same strength, they lack the same independent thinking skills as the originals. Furthermore, Goku's clones never use the god forms and likely lack god ki outright, making them certainly strong but fodder by Dragon Ball standards. Goku Black. Goku Black is the ultimate evil Goku and probably the last official evil Goku we're ever going to get. Despite being based off of the simple idea of what if Goku was evil, Goku Black is weirdly convoluted. The Kai Zamasu, in order to enact the Zero Mortals plan and wipe out everyone who isn't a god, uses the Super Dragon Balls in his timeline to get Goku's body and become Goku Black in Trunks' timeline. Eventually, Future Trunks brings in the mainline timeline Goku and Vegeta, who at first only help Goku Black evolve further through abusing Zenkais, eventually unlocking his Super Saiyan Rose form. Black eventually fuses with a different timeline Zamasu to become Merge Zamasu, fighting Vegito Blue, and eventually being defeated by Zeno after being cut in half by Future Trunks. At the time, Goku Black was essentially the strongest until he immediately gets power cliffed in the Tournament of Power. And that's all 16 Gokus. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want me to explain other Dragon Ball things in this fashion, let me know in the comments down below. Thank you to my members for supporting the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya!